We'll listen to the opening arguments by the House prosecutors. They will listen to the president's lawyers respond. And then we'll have to make a decision about the way forward. And everything I do during this, I'm coordinating with White House counsel. There will be no difference between the president's position and our position as to how to handle this to the extent that we can. We don't have the kind of ball control on this that a typical issue, for example, comes over for the House. If I don't like it, we don't take it up. We have no choice but to take it up, but we'll be working through this process, hopefully in a fairly short period of time, in total coordination with the White House counsel's office and the people who are representing the president in the will of the Senate. Well, exactly how we go forward, I'm going to coordinate with the president's lawyers. So there won't be any difference between us on how to do this.
This is Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell admitting publicly that he's now coordinating with Trump on his own impeachment trial. Just to be clear, senators are supposed to act as jurors in impeachment trials. They're not even supposed to comment on the trial as long as it's ongoing or do anything that would give the impression that they're not neutral or giving fair consideration to the facts on both sides. So for McConnell to gleefully admit that not only is he not willing to be neutral, but that he's actively working with the Trump administration, in effect, the jury coordinating with the defendant, is a complete and total abdication of his responsibility as a senator. And clearly he's setting an example that the rest of his caucus is following. Lindsey Graham, who in the course of a few years has gone from one of the few moderates in the Senate to reveling in his new role as Trump's favorite lapdog, recently came out and said, "I am trying to give a pretty clear signal that I have made up my mind. I'm not trying to pretend to be a fair juror here. What I see happening today is just a partisan nonsense." When asked if it was appropriate for him to be voicing his opinion prior to the trial, Graham said, "Well, I must think so because I'm doing it." And of course, Graham sees no irony in the idea that he's justifying his public refusal to uphold his oath of office and serve as a neutral juror in the Senate impeachment trial because he thinks it's partisan nonsense. Because nothing shows just how much you hate partisanship as being so partisan that you won't even do the bare minimum required of your job by simply shutting up and even pretending to be neutral. And yet, while all of this is clearly a disgusting abuse of power, it's not the least bit surprising for this batch of Senate Republicans. I wouldn't think twice about saying that Mitch McConnell has unilaterally done more damage to our government than any other person in modern American history. From failing to bring over 250 bills that passed the House to the Senate floor for a vote, to dedicating his initial days as Senate Majority Leader to blocking President Obama's every legislative move and judicial appointment, to making up an arbitrary rule that a president can't nominate a Supreme Court justice to the bench in an election year if the majority of Congress is of a different party than the president, which, to be clear, is complete BS, McConnell has turned what used to be the world's greatest deliberative body into a partisan circus. And he's proud of his reputation. McConnell has referred to himself as the, quote, Grim Reaper of legislation, a reference to the fact that bills effectively die when they reach his desk, which is especially grim considering among those bills are H.R. 8, the Universal Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2019, which would actually save countless lives. But I guess American lives are a small price to pay for McConnell staying consistent with his branding. Even in this very interview, Hannity played dumb and remarked how surprised he was that Obama left so many vacancies in the judiciary and didn't try to fill them, at which point McConnell gleefully chimed in to take full credit.
If you will recall, Sean, the most important decision I've made in my entire political career was not to fill the Supreme Court vacancy when Justice Scalia passed away. That was the beginning, and now we've got an exclamation point here after 3 years that we thought the public would be interested in reading about, and that's why the president and I collaborated on this paperback.
I was shocked that former President Obama left so many vacancies and didn't try to fill those positions.
I'll tell you why. I was in charge of of what we did the last 2 years of the Obama administration.
I will give you full credit for that. And by the way, take a bow. All right, that was a good line.
The simple fact is that Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans are not there to govern or follow the rules or respect our government's institutions or protect our democracy. They are there to enact their agenda and retain their grip on power by any means necessary. Democrats need to come to the realization that bipartisanship with these people is a fool's errand, that the two sides are playing dramatically different games by a different set of rules. And so just as important as the presidency in 2020 is taking the Senate, kicking Mitch McConnell out of power, and going back to the business of serving the American people instead of doing the bidding of the most corrupt president in modern American history.